Hey guys, welcome back to The Letter. In last episode, Rebecca actually ended up asking Ash out to be her date for the ball, but I feel like he's only going because he's investigating the right family and she's gonna be really disappointed. So let's see her perspective of the ball. The night wears on without further incident, despite the great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Come morning, there's only hush. A strange sort of stillness, unlike the ones greeting me every morn. This one's uneasy, tight, with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap. Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. And as expected, the second I step out of the flat, it comes apart, broken by voices by two squabbling adults echoing from a floor below. The quiet was nice while it lasted. Shame.
What the hell were you thinking?
I wasn't. Ow! Could you let go?
Not a few seconds later, they both ascended the stairs, with Ashton pulling Isabella by her wrist. She struggles as she should, but his hold on her remains firm. Freeing herself means having to draw blood, as she attempts to pry his hand off with her other one, or using unnecessary force to push herself away. Neither of which is better than the other. Or could potentially end in an accident while the other means having to hurt him physically. She has the good sense to realize that, at least, however, it doesn't make the despite edge in her voice when she answers, Ashton tempered with her own. So on they go, none the wiser to my presence.
Do you have any idea how much trouble you could get in?
That's why I'm asking you for help.
Is this what you've been doing these past 3 days? Because this doesn't make your case convincing, Isabella.
Rose died, Ash.
I know. Every single person in Luxburg knows. It's on the damn news. But that doesn't mean...
People are missing. Some of those are my friends. And BRC's just covering it all up.
You can't just barge into my office and expect me to do anything about it, right off the bat. This isn't a children's game, Isabella. We have procedures. We have to follow protocol. There's red tape all over this case for a reason. We sure as hell don't investigate things just because some stupid letter spooked us.
Ash, you have to believe me this time. If we don't do anything right now, more people will...
It's been a whole week. This stupid letter prank is getting old real fast. I'm sick of it. It was funny the first time, not so much now.
You're the only one that can help me with this, Ash. Even Rebecca won't.
All right, you two are awfully loud. What's going on here?
Both of their heads snap almost in unison. A displeased frown is on each of their faces, but this is necessary interruption. What can they do? People still in their units have already taken interest in the commotion, with some taking a peek behind their curtains, while others are bold enough to creak their doors open, if only slightly. If they don't keep it down pretty soon, our landlady will show up. Getting a reprimand from her is the last thing I want to happen. First thing on Friday morning, even if this is hardly my fault.
Well, if you want to continue this, you two better do it elsewhere. You're disturbing other people.
Don't worry, we're done here.
No, we aren't. Becca, I looked it up. I called them. I visited some of them and...
Which you shouldn't have done in the first place. Isabella, you're going to create more problems for us with what you're doing. A team has already been assigned to it. Leave it to us.
Your precious team is looking at it the wrong way. Becca, it's not just Rose. There are others.
The last bit strikes a chord. Probed strongly out of memory. At the vicious smile already etched deeply inside my mind. The images appear clearly enough that the mere mention of it, I stumble on my own question.
What do you mean?
The letter, Rebecca! It's not...
It's nothing. If there's really something going on because of that dumb letter, none of us would be standing here. We've all read it, haven't we? But Rebecca's alive, Zach's alive, I'm alive. So for the last time, this isn't a curse.
I'm so sorry, Zach!
There's a murderer on the loose, and your coworkers happen to be the victims.
Pause. Today, October 27th, right? Okay, we asked them out, which means if we're doing the ball thing. Today's the ball. If it's today, I think. When did Zachary pass away? On the 31st. I don't know what today's date is. I forgot.
Give it a rest, Isabella. It's too early for this shit.
Don't you think that's too much for a coincidence?
Not so much. Most serial killers follow a pattern. I'll tell you about it some other time. And anyway, coincidence or not, the point is, civilians like you aren't supposed to get involved. You're putting yourself in danger.
I wasn't chasing after... Oh.
Will the both of you slow down and stop arguing for a minute? What's this about your coworkers, Belle?
Becca, please don't tell me now you believe this shit.
Sure, in a heartbeat, I'll agree with Ashton. That's how it always has been. Besides, having a very good point, really. They're very the same ones he'll make every time I ask too many questions. But the fact of the matter is, he wants to hear from me right now. Is far from what I've been seeing since these past few days. It doesn't matter what Isabella or I believe on our own. Something odd is happening around me, and the letter she picked up is at the heart of this. But however, I respond to the question in their faces. Only one of them will be pleased with it, however. Belle shouldn't be doing these things. I might have seen her. Yeah, I'm gonna have to, we have to believe this sooner or later. We're gonna have to convince Ashton. Ashton particularly won't be too happy to hear this. How hard did this go down? Not too much. Hers went up. Imagining the look on his face doesn't take too much effort. His entire posture shifts the moment my reluctance shows. Shoulders tensing, brows furrowing, eyes gaining a sharp edge. He's already bracing himself from the disappointment. And it will be disappointment. Not in a million years did I ever believe I'll be saying this either.
I might have seen her. The woman Belle's been telling us about. The one she said she saw in the attic.
Both of them stare at me like I've grown an extra head. For a few moments, Ashton looks as if he's about to have a fit. A pause treads at its heels after a silence thick enough. One can almost hear a pin drop. When is Ashton's story going to start and end? Because we are super deep into this somewhere around these dates, and yet nothing has happened to him. And everybody else, all this stuff has already happened. So when is he going to start? Or is it just not even haunting him? Is it like, you know, I don't need Ash, fuck him.
You're kidding, right?
Do I look like I'm joking?
Really, Becca? Not funny.
Ash, I'm not lying. Why would I lie about this? It's been this way since the film fest. The past few days have been really odd since we read that letter. Last night, you mentioned Zach hasn't been acting like himself. Maybe you should ask him, too.
Or maybe you're all just feeling under the weather.
I'm not sick. Don't you think I'd know that by now?
Becca, you're starting to sound like Scaredy Cat. Give me a break.
Why don't you?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, you two.
Isabella's voice cuts sharply through the conversation, abruptly putting an end to the brewing argument.
It's all my fault. This is all my fault. I was only hoping I could fix this before any of you. I'm sorry for dragging you all into this.
She breathes in. Deep, steadying, and in that moment, something falls behind her eyes as she looks away.
I'll fix this. I promise.
A quiet resolve. The same one I saw in her the night from 3 days ago. But this time, it burns brighter. Even Ashton wavers at its sight. When she looks at him straight in the eyes, gaze, unflinching. Gradually, he grips on her wrist loosens.
Belle, there's nothing to fix. The problem is...
Just this once, Ash.
Her voice, though small and lacking any force, stops him. Along with it, every sound, every noise dies around us. A hush descending as if the world is waiting for her words.
You don't have to come with me. But if I don't do anything, I am going to regret it.
She lays a hand atop his. Gentle, pleading, almost intimate, if one does not consider the circumstances we found ourselves in.
Please.
Ashton will never tell a soul. Will never admit it, even to himself. But is in the short second that his own resolve breaks. The moment the hard edge in his eyes soften, and he relinquishes his hold on her, letting his hand fall limply to his side. Wordlessly, Isabella steps back and runs off, leaving only a muttered thanks and a small, lackluster smile. Only after the last of her few footsteps fade away does Ashton move, breaking the silence with one of his sharp exhales before reaching up to pinch the bridge of his nose in a gesture of frustration and surrender.
Did you really have to tell her that?
What do you want to hear from me then? That everything's fine?
No, I want all of you to stop putting these ideas in her head. None of it is helping. Never mind. Don't worry about her. I'll bring her back here.
He's already poised to leave when my own instinct takes over. I reach for him, gripping his elbow with the same unyielding grip, the action prompted by voices whispering at the back of my mind. He's already made it clear that he's not going to believe me, but he does deserve a word of caution. Who knows where all this will take us, how often this will end. We shouldn't be caught off guard, but least notwithstanding.
Ash, I know you don't believe in those things she's saying. And you know me. I'm less inclined to believe in those things as you do. But I've seen something. There's something strange going on here. You don't have to buy it. If you don't want to listen to me, fine. But please, try to hear her out. It's bad enough that Isabella goes off like this without telling anyone. I'm just worried something might happen to her if she keeps at it. Talk to her, okay?
As if she trusts me enough for that.
Doesn't the fact that she approached you first about this, instead of me, already say a lot?
A different kind of trust. Granted implicity and never spoken. Something too big, too fragile to last. He falls silent for a long moment as he turns it over in his mind. In the end, all he manages to offer is a small nod before departs, and a promise to at least listen to her, without the teasing or the jabs. A favor for me, and the least he could do for her. This is as much as I can do for him, as well, until I've understood what's happening myself. Tonight, hopefully where this all started will provide lots of answers I'm looking for. Okay, cool. We're going to the party. Except the whole thing's off to a bad start, and all of a sudden, whatever Isabella claims dwelling in the mansion becomes the least of my concerns. Severely undressed and totally understatement to describe how I look. Cars worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined, lined with the mansion front yard. Men and women decked out in their best also flock near the entrance. Most are eager for the festival to start, while some are simply idling about, enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. But once the woman standing at the front porch speaks, their undivided attention immediately shifts to her. Presumably Miss Wright, from the confident manner she holds herself among present company. This despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of her own guests, or not having her husband beside her. A trait worthy to utmost admiration at best. At worst, she's the envy of every woman, the subject of every gossip in Luxbourne.
Welcome, welcome everyone.
And Mom said we could be good friends. I can't even picture myself mingling with this kind of guest she has. Though I admit, she does seem familiar, now that I have seen her this close. Memories of sitting in the vanity, not mine. Being dressed in clothes to fancy for my taste. They flip briefly in my mind, until her cheery tone rises above the buzz of her enraptured audience again.
Please, make yourselves at home.
I wish I could share her enthusiasm. Really. But being surrounded by this extravagance, for the lack of better terms, merely makes me dread how the rest of the night might go. So yeah, I'm kind of just realizing that obviously the letter has nothing to do with any of this anymore, because we've discovered it was kids doing a prank and stuff. So are all these people who are entering our house like gonna die at some point? Also knowing there might be some truth to what lies inside this place helps drive the unease further by a notch. Ashton, on the other hand,
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
for someone who upholds gatherings like this, he already seems right at home, standing with an air too lackadaisical as she watches the valet drive off with his bloody car.
Can't you at least act with a bit more shame?
Becca, if I find a single scratch on Shirley, there will be hell to pay.
Those guys know what they're doing. They're handling cars worth more than your precious Shirley.
My disdain has likely shown beyond the tone of my voice. quite possibly in the form of Grimace. He chuckles, a rare moment where mirth the amusement danced across his features. Try as I might to pull up a stern glare, I can't help but join him instead. There's something in the lightness of it, and how easy this kind of interaction falls into place, when we don't let feelings get too involved, in spite of being stuck in a situation we're not fond of. It brings back memories. However, the moment doesn't hold. All of a sudden, Ashton grows quiet.
Chief?
And an odd expression flashes momentarily across his face, though he blinks away before I can figure out what it is exactly.
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca, I just saw someone I need to catch up with. Longtime friend.
It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to spare a glance my way when he answers. Instead, they're focused on some point in the crowd. His gaze, darting between people walking past us, until a small frown forms in his face.
Oh wait, Ash! Oh, what about...
This won't be long. Be careful while I'm gone, okay?
I met the smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. What does he mean by that? But before I can ask already, he has turned his back from me and is walking away without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort, I try to catch up to him, if only to know what warranted this sudden departure and his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by muffled ringing from my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
The conversation itself doesn't last long. Just a simple hello, a reminder to enjoy the party and to send their regards to their old student. Wow, that was probably the quickest conversation without redoing everything. But when the call ends and I get to look up, Ashton's already heading inside. With a sigh, admittedly, a little disappointment, I took my mobile back into my pocket and follow after him.
So much for date.
Even with familiar company, this is somehow shaping up to be a terrible evening. The party hits full swing an hour later. With the host opening remarks given, still no sign of her husband, the poor woman, and guests promptly fed. The band shifts the melody to a liberal turn. Soon laughter and the rhythmic tapping of her shoes fill the room, all in accordance to the lifting strains of music. It seems fun, I admit it. Fascinating at certain moments, the flurry of dancers making the music of their own almost left no care in the world. If I weren't so indisposed, I'd have to join the crowd for a song or two. There isn't a lack of invitations anyways, plenty of them. In fact, with some asking more than others. It's only my stubborn refusal that prevents me from rejoining them. And I can. A single nod is all it'll take, and even would have been far enjoyable for me. But pride in my own silly hopes, the thought of being with one of them by him, curbs that, as much as I hate to admit it. It's hard truth to swallow, especially when the very person at the center of it makes denial difficult. Can't even spare me a minute of his attention, or a single glance at me the whole evening. Hell, Zachary might have spoken more words to me. The big guy's busy covering the event, to boot. But at least he manages to slip in a conversation or two between takes, or a small wave of his hand when he passes by. What's Ashton's excuse? He's been flitting in and out of the sight the whole time. One moment he's hanging around a small group, and another he's hovering around the string band. Just a second ago, he's wolfing down some deviled eggs by the buffet table, a glass of wine in hand. The next thing I know, he's gone. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he only agreed to come with me for another reason.
I swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Her voice almost makes me jump, too focused on the gobshit wandering around the ballroom and my own annoyance to notice. If she's heard of any profanities I've mumbled, or if she's taken notice to the discomfort, she makes no comment on it, merely greeting me with a smile when I turn my attention to her. Miss Hannah Wright gives a whole different air when she's speaking to an audience. Homely, a bit friendly for my liking. but I guess that comes from being raised in such an environment and having to deal with pompous, snooty people. Though I suppose nothing has really changed for many years. I remember her carrying herself in the same manner during the one she only visits. Does she remember any of it? I won't be surprised if she does. It hasn't taken me a while. Myself, she's probably met a lot of people like the Becky throughout the many years. Might have had already forgotten about me or my parents. People like her thrive on connections after all. Nevertheless, I've returned my smile, awkward and stiff as it may be.
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this, fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenu, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up. Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
It takes me a while to realize who she's talking about, until Ashton walks by again, in a closer proximity than any other time he has done so far this evening. Still without a look of acknowledgement our way, though, even if Miss Rice speaks loud enough to catch attention of anyone with an earshot.
Who, Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend then? Because that would explain those rejections.
This isn't the first time someone has made that assumption. Almost every student I've had in the past did. My coworkers, more than often than not, assume he is. A few of my neighbors also think we are an item. Not that Ashton has ever reacted to those. He's been quite indifferent about it, in fact. Still, the heat of the blush creeps on my cheeks, a denial ready despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
I do my best to summon a straight face, but before her good cheer, it's easily flatters.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact. Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
It's more the latter, currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property. I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
It's infectious in a way. No sooner I find myself enjoying our chat more than I've imagined myself to. Although her attention briefly wavers at some point, she remains a good companion. Even more noted once I mentioned who my parents are. Oh, I'm yawning so much! Her face quickly lights up, and fondness graces her face, despite the meeting of several years ago being a short one. But of course, there are some things we can't really avoid talking about. After all, it's one of the few things I remember her asking me, the moment she spotted little Becky in my room. Do you have a boyfriend? In retrospect, it's an odd thing to talk about as a child, when there are loads of things we could have started with.
Yes, oh, I remember you! You were the cutest little thing with glasses! And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
I believe I still have the clothes she gave me. Chosen, all so I could impress him. And even back then, Ashton has always been denser than a rock, and that one attempt to get him to notice backfired spectacularly. Sure, he's keen. He's a detective for heaven's sakes. But feelings, more than often not, escapes him.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
Which makes this whole talk all the more embarrassing. The more names she lifts off, the more discomfort grows, until my smile turns into grimace. Well, what will she think of me? Here she is, married, to a man most probably loves her at that. Well, I'm still stuck in the same place, yearning for the same person.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that boy! The same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone with an earshot, you know? Keep it down.
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
She says that before a short moment, a hint of pity flickering in her eyes. I take that as the chance of change the subject before anything can be said over the matter. I haven't even sorted these things out myself.
So, this is a nice party, Miss Wright.
Though to be frank, I doubt she'll be so willing to pass this up. The topic has already captured her attention.
Please, Anna's fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky. Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best. If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Hypocrisy, that's what it is. How dare I preach about something when it's exactly what I'm doing? And then, I go and act as if I'm entitled to any of it. That, by virtue of us growing up together, he must return whatever I feel for him. That he's not allowed to look at another, because I'm the one who stayed up by his side the longest. When in first place, Ashton has always been his own person. This is something I cannot force on him. I can only hold these, take care of it, until time comes I can confess to him. Great, if he reprocrates, but if he can't, if he won't, selfish. I've been too selfish.
But what do I know?
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about.
And at one point, maybe I would have easily agreed to that. However, the past week has also been seen. Changes in the way I view things. As nice as these things sound, I turn myself on whatever I previously know may not be true for the most people for myself. It is sobering and almost funny how things I might have said with much certainty before now has doubt mudding each of them. But there will be time to mull over these later, because when a hush suddenly descends in the room, a whole different issue rears. Especially when fucking Luke, strides in, now quiet ballroom, fashionably late and oozing with the same pompous Mayan he's always carried around with him.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the Wright Mansion.
Before long, Hannah leaves my side to join him. It doesn't take a genius to piece it all together.
Welcome one and all to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are our ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
His attitude, the manner he carries around himself, his unfamiliarity with the part of the city. Of fucking course. I should have known. Although I'm partially at fault, the tabloids and the gossip columns have never really been my thing. I also haven't even expected the wherever Luke fucking Wright is, some sort of drama will sure follow. He's been the kind of person who reveals it, in it. Figured out I'll find him on his own, even when he's not asking for it. It happens amidst the round of applause and hoots. The people lagging behind the crowd they've gathered does not catch on, until the cheers turn into several scandalous gasps.
I am pregnant with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility. God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What do you mean you're pregnant with? Luke, is this true?
Lies and slander, woman! Security! Johans, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me. I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby? Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
The commotion doesn't go further, despite the drunk woman appearing like she's had plenty more venom to spill. In a little while, security shows up, escorting her out. Apparently, she's the chief inspector's wife too. As if this whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. But the damage has already been done, and beyond the repercussions this will bring, I'm more worried about Hannah. Maybe Luke too. In part, I've seen the man that hides behind his self-importance, and it is someone who cares for the person who stands beside him. No matter how questionable that is now. After all, no anger is worse than that of scorned woman. He's lucky, though, that he is not to be the object of it anytime soon. That his wife loves him enough not to believe any of the woman's drunken prattables.
Take that trollop out of here immediately, and see to it that she isn't allowed to hear or anywhere we hold any authority in Luxbourne.
Hannah's outrage is a strange sight of witness. After those smiles of the grace she has carried herself through the entirety of the party. Like this, her eyes burning bright with fury. I don't doubt that she can do so much more. Ruin the scandalous woman if need be. Shaming her is already an act mercy generous enough coming from her.
Everyone, please go back to enjoying the party. Don't let that mess of a woman ruin your night.
You heard her! Strike up the band, maestro, and let us dance like fireflies in the night!
Yet when she turns to Luke, eyes gleaming with hope, something feels off. Something I can't quite place. Hers is not the face of person who so ardently loves. There's a lack of tenderness in it, an absence of warmth and sincere affection. It's the kind of constriction suffocates.
Well, that was a mess, wasn't it? And you handled it magnificently.
It happens. We are very important people, are we not?
No one seems to have noticed it, however. At the command, music resumes. There's a brief lull, a reluctant pause before the place comes to stir again, but shortly the buzz returns to the room. Dancers have once again taken the floor to their guests, excited chatter being anew. Maybe it's just my imagination.
Milady, would you like to dance?
With pleasure, my prince.
The unsettling feeling in my stomach remains, however. Even as the strained atmosphere dissolves into merriment. Even as I watch the couple lose themselves in the moment, or the people around them join them in. It grips me all the more, when once I leave the hall, the last glimpse I catch of Hannah is her smile. A thin, unearthly one spreading across her soft features. The porter closes the door behind me with a soft click, but all I hear from it is the chilling whispers. Those that seem to echo along another familiar grin in my mind. The rush of fresh air against my cheek does a little damp in the nervous edge of my bones. Away from the rush of the people, I feel bone tired. It's late. I've accomplished nothing for what I came here for, and Ashton's nowhere to be found. I was about to say, why didn't she sneak off and go see what she wanted to see? I'm not sure what pisses me off more. That he's ignored me the whole evening and might have just left without saying anything, or knowing he obviously has some other motive for being here. Can't he at least trust his own friends for that?
He didn't have to lie to me.
He's not even answering his phone. The man has always been difficult to contact when he's out. But you'd think he'd at least have the decency to keep the lines open if he's going to wander off on a party. One that he happened to attend with his friends at that. I let the call ring 9 more times before cutting it off. No one's trying to find someone who refuses to be found. I can get home at my own. I don't need him. He can just...
Becca, where'd you go off to? If we're done here, let's go.
My mistake. The second his voice cuts through the grist night air is what I've allowed annoyance to get the better of me. Fuming patience forgotten, I roll around the march towards him. One accusation after another piles up on the tip of my tongue, ready to be hurled at any moment. There's no hesitation holding me back when I fling it at him. The straight-faced he keeps as I do so doesn't help temper my anger either. It only makes me want to slap some more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time since that mess in the hall. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgive him if he'd shown some ounce of remorse for leaving me like that. Maybe he could have looked away, given me a sign that my assumption might be right. He doesn't even need to put them into words. A single gesture to confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. He does that whenever he can't disclose anything. He does that whenever he's lying. In the face of it, amidst the thick tension, the frustration and huff is the only thing I can summon.
Be that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm ready to exhausted for those. So without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stomp over his car. Although before I can pull the door open, he calls out, one hand outstretched, a gentle way on my shoulder.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brows furrowing and lip curving into a straight frown. I can almost see the gears turning in his head, while he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before, perhaps I might have waited patiently for those. He's not a man fond of using words to express himself. More often than not, any gesture of honesty will only come out blunt and coarse when forced. But not today. For one reason or another, I simply can't summon the forbearance.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else...
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year. Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
The silence I can offer him, but whether I'll believe what he's about to say is still up for debate. Very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this. I'm aware your parents have some kind of history with Hannah Wright, and somehow you're friends with her. But you should stay away from these people for now. Especially the husband.
Who? Luke?
His expression deepens in a scowl at the mention of his name, but whatever opinion he has, he doesn't immediately voice. Still, something about it has greatly displeased him, evident in the stiff note his tone assumes.
Yeah, he's bad news.
It's my turn to frown this time. What does he mean by that? What does he have to do with this? Care to explain your reasons? I'm gonna ask Care to explain.
Care to explain your reasons?
I've not meant for it to sound so harsh as it does, but anger and frustration has never been a good match, particularly in nights like this. It's not surprising when Ashton jerks back as if I struck him. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt darts across his features, his eyes narrowing and his hand closing in tightly into a fist at his side. Then swiftly he glances away and he shifts his focus on the line of trees nearby, like an answer he can glean by the dark expanse.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
What is it for? For the party? For the vague answer he continues to give? Does it include all those times before this? The year's worth of it? I doubt its sincerity. However, at the moment, the forgiveness he is asking isn't something I'm too willing to hand, furious as I am. I'm frankly I wonder how I can keep myself from raising my voice at him.
We'll talk about this tomorrow, and you better have a proper answer for me by then.
There's a brief hesitation before I step away, a short moment of wanting to say more, of waiting if he has anything to be added. He's only silent, eyes still trained at the distance. It is the last glimpse I see of him before I climb inside his car. If the door slams closed with the same force as the anger I'm holding, its sounds merely vanishes into the night unnoticed. He follows soon after, and shortly we're on our way back to the city. Yet, even with the city's bright lights welcoming us, the dense, somber air from the mansion still lingers. The moon is almost at its highest by the time we reach Samwell. Well, even after our respective heads have cooled off, the atmosphere within the car remains rife with unspoken tension. This isn't a problem so easily fixed with a few handshakes. Quite frankly, I don't know what will happen. Ashton himself has no idea what to do. He is alright and dwells awkwardly in the middle of the car park, unsure. It almost seems like he's having an internal debate, whether he should say goodbye or mutter another apology. I could have driven away, purely out of spite, the seconds I've gone off. Still, old habits die hard. It's late, and Ashton's flat is on the other side of the city. Irritation might be still rear its head, even if I look at him right now. But I'm not too cruel to put him up to another long drive. Especially when he still appears as if he's gotten any rest.
You can borrow the couch.
I throw the keys to my flat his way before the protest forms on his lips. Although he catches it with ease, his eyes are wary expressions and shoots a puzzled glance my way.
You haven't been forgiven. We're still going to have that talk, believe me. But I'm not about to send you out on another drive looking like that. It's late. Go get some rest.
We're setting aside a lot of loose ends like this, but he appears to have accepted that reason, at least in the meantime. He does give me another look, questioning glance when I shove past him, pulling my mobile into the process.
Where are you going? I thought...
You go ahead upstairs. I need to contact Professor Andrew.
Andrew? Why would you... Oh, no. Please. Is this that thing Isabella said this morning? Again? I already gave her my word, Becca. I'll look into this BRC crap. No need to drag the old guy into it.
Of course, he's still skeptical. It makes me wonder if he's even seen anything at all. Figures this curse will stay away from the scoffer. But this is another loose end tonight that I can just leave alone, Ashton's belief notwithstanding. It just so happens that it's only I can delve into using means other than taking a look at the mansion itself.
Ashton, do you really think I still give a shite after that stunt you pulled tonight?
No, but this is...
I've spent so many years with him to know this is about to turn into another argument. Before he can finish it, I cut him off with the firm raise of my hand.
Look, I don't care. There are weird things happening around here. And yes, it's Isabella's brand of weird. Ghostly voices, strange sounds, and a bloody woman sitting at the back of my car. You don't have to believe me. And I no longer have the patience to convince you, so just leave me be, Ashton.
He doesn't push it, growing quiet instead. Although I know he has a whole case of it prepared inside his head. But there's a reluctant shift in his movement when he steps away from our conversation. Short of climbing the stairs, he stops, turns to face me with an expression almost too... conflicted?
Are you really sure?
What?
That there was something? That you've been, seeing things?
Yes, I'm very, very certain. Now go. And you better not break anything in there. The last time I let you stay over, it was that statuette Belle gave me. You haven't even replaced that one.
The last of my reprimands go both unheard and unanswered as he disappears behind the stairs. If things aren't as strained, he might have quipped or two about that, followed by a light banter. Instead, for a long moment, I am left staring at him. There's something in the way that he asked it with the nags. Coupled with his expression, the whole exchange just feels unsettling. One that doesn't fade, even as I gather my thoughts and shift my focus on another, even as I dial Professor Andrew's number. And that's when it clicks. During the long way of the professor, one strays through, emerges from the unease. Ashton is not intended for his question to be a jab. It's concern. For what, though? My well-being? The letter's curse? The woman I mentioned? The answers for those will have to wait, however. Finally, the call connects and Professor Andrew's voice echoes on the receiver.
Professor Andrew?
Rebecca? It's late. What can I do for you?
I know, I'm sorry, but this is a bit urgent.
After all, this is the most pressing matter. Our lives might be at stake, and we're still in the dark.
Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you to do me a favor.
Alright guys, I'm gonna end it here. Once again, Rebecca's story is literally just a repeat of another story, which I do not like. I want them to give Rebecca their own chance, her own whatever. If something had actually happened at this mansion, then I wouldn't have cared. I would be like, okay, we're getting somewhere, but literally nothing happened. Basically, we just redid the entire night just to do that phone call. I don't know. I just kind of like bored with the whole Rebecca thing, but hopefully this last episode will pick up somewhere, something. But otherwise, I hope you guys are enjoying it. Maybe it's just me. If you guys are bored though and you want to check out some other content, please look out in the description below. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great and wonderful day. Bye!